Branch or go to znbs.co.zm today. ZNBS, it's possible to build, buy, or renovate your dream home.
Well, it's a beautiful Monday, the 10th of November in the year 2025. Thank you so much for making the time to be a part of tonight's edition of Diamond Live. We come to your screens every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. We do nothing but bring you the day's biggest news stories. I'm your host. My name is Andrew Mwansa.
And I'm Cheswa, Kapasa. Thanks a lot for making time to join us. There's so much happening, Andrew, in the news, and we hope that you can be a part of our conversation this evening.
Coming up on the program tonight, we're going to be joined in by Ruth Ngoma. She is youth leader and policy engagement advocate. We're going to be speaking into the issues that happened on the Copper Belt in Chingola, to be precise, where President Hakainde Hichilema was stoned by the youth there. She is speaking into issues of dialogue and the importance of ensuring that young people come on the table together with the policymakers to ensure that decisions are made for the benefit of the young people themselves. And later on, we're going to be joined in by UPND Media official in Amos, Chanda. We're going to go further on with this conversation to talk about the real causes of what led to that fracas that happened in Chingola. I was hearing, of stories by the reporter that covered this story that the cadres there were chanting "Muchuisuile, remember correctly. Open it. And they were shouting this to the president that they must open Senseli mine. Also, the mass voter registration comes to an end tomorrow. It began on the 10th of October. It's concluding tomorrow. Tomorrow is the what? 12th? 11th? The 11th of November 2025. It began on the 13th of October to tomorrow, the 11th of November 2025. The Electoral Commission of Zambia will be having a press briefing tomorrow at 11 hours at the Mlungushi International Conference Center. Let's begin off the show with Today in a Snap. Now, youth leader and policy advocate Ruth Ngoma has condemned the violent incident that occurred at Chiwempala market in Chingola, where President Hakainde Hichilema was stoned during his visit. Ms. Ngoma has urged young people to refrain from violence and instead come to the table for dialogue, saying meaningful engagement is the best to address their concerns. She joins us on Today in a Snap. Thank you so much, Ruth Ngoma, for making time to be a part of us this evening.
Thank you so much for hosting me today. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, so much has been said about what happened in Chingola. I know for a fact that you are also a youth that comes from Chingola. Let's begin, the conversation from there. What was your immediate reaction when you saw what transpired to the president?
Okay, so on my part, I do understand the frustrations that are really going on and the tension that's in my community, but it was very disappointing that people had to resort to violence, because violence doesn't solve anything. And then to look at a situation like the way there were a lot of people, it was masses, a lot would have things would have escalated to a point where there would have been bloodshed. So it's something that started very small but would have been very big. So I really condemn that, and I believe we have better ways and better approaches in actually addressing issues that are affecting us as young people.
What do you think are the better ways of addressing some of these issues?
So the biggest word I can use is dialogue, where we sit together with the policymakers and talk about things that are going on. Because, when people feel like they're left behind on the tables, it actually results to violence. And then also when there's a communication cut, where there's some misinformation about certain things, because like you're saying, people were shouting, open the mines, and they just think they just close the mine because maybe it's political, maybe government wants to get the monies from them and all that. But then the real issue isn't really about the youth alone. It's also about the government. What are we doing for the young people to actually have more information about why the mines are closing? And to speak of dialogue, I have an initiative which I posted online, I think a few weeks ago, to say, young people, let's come together. Let us call these policymakers to the table. Let's bring them close to us, and we express our opinions about certain things. Because I believe people in Chingola are not just having problems, but they also might have solutions. You never know where solutions come from, right? So when I made that call online, I was actually very shocked. Right about now, the group has about 100 youths from Chingola that are ready to sit and discuss what's going on. So the people of Chingola are actually very good people. Trust me, they are very good people. I love my people from Chingola, and they just need to be communicated to, and they need to be heard. So when we talk of such things of violence and all that, I think those things are supposed to be avoided by all means. We can't risk the peace that we have. And, things, when a fire starts very small, we need to quench it as quick as possible. And that's why I suggest that this dialogue gets started as soon as possible, because the young people are ready. Some people are ready to listen. We want to express our issues to our members of parliament, the Minister of Mines, the Minister of maybe Youth and all that. So I think that's what I can say for now.
As a youth leader, do you think that youth have been heard enough, especially now that we're talking about young people that must be a part of leadership next year, young people that must be seen in parliament? Do you think that the youth in Zambia today are heard enough?
I think they are. When we talk of the last elections that we have, I think we could see the youths there to echo the voices in different ways, could be voting. So when it comes to the young people being heard, I think they are, but not enough. And I am hoping as time goes by, we push more of young people into the spaces. If you've noticed, like Facebook and other social media platforms, a lot of young people are now aspiring to be in these spaces, which is very beautiful. But it's also dangerous, if you had to ask me. But it's very beautiful that a lot of young people have realized that they have to take part in governance and politics.
Let's talk about these young people that you are mobilizing to go and speak to in Chingola. Maybe give us more details, on exactly what you want to achieve.
Okay, so these young people from Chingola are coming from different backgrounds. So we have the people that are coming from the small-scale mines, and if you are aware, the system at the mines is different from other systems. There are camps. There's not one person doing the mining. They have camps where they have different individuals. So our target is involving the camp leaders coming to the table. We involve our member of parliament for Chingola constituency as well as in Changa constituency on the table. Then we also invite other private stakeholders like KCM Mines. Those people are well experienced, they've been doing mining. And then we also have other stakeholders that look into skills development, because, there's so many opportunities that other people would want to even access, but because they don't have that information, that's why they're staying away from that. And then also other young people. It's not just about the people in the mines, it's also about the young people that are willing to contribute to this dialogue. So that's going to be our first stage. And then after we have that dialogue, that workshop, I think we're going to have it for a day or two, and we engage with the stakeholders. Then the people from the camps the leaders from the camps can communicate it better and best to their fellow people. Because sometimes when communication comes from high and it skips a certain level, that's why we get to have misinformation. They need to talk to the people that own the camps. This is the situation. And they also need to listen to the people in the camps that this is what we want and this is how best you can help us. I heard there was allocation of funds, right? And then that will also be addressed because other young people are saying, what if we don't have access to these funds? That's going to be another problem. So we want to talk more about these things. This is how they can access the money, and this is what government is doing so far. And as the young people, this is what we want.
What exactly are you going to do to target the right people, on this project? Because I'm meant to believe that those that, for example, are protesting, well, government calls them thugs. These are junkies, and these are the people that are causing trouble, in Chingola. And obviously, when you are starting an initiative, you need to target the right people. What kind of system are you going to use to ensure that the people you're targeting are not the elite, are not the ones that have gone to school that can understand, academic jargon, but are people that have been affected on a daily, small-scale miners themselves, illegal small-scale miners themselves that were once chased at sincerely because it was not safe for them. So do you have a system really that, you're trying to, use with your team to ensure that the right people are identified for this project?
Okay, so to start with, many people call them junkies and the same way you've said it, but for us, they're our brothers and sisters. That's what the difference is. We meet them in our markets, we talk to them in our markets, we meet them in so many different places. So I would say, growing up in Chingola, I was the school president the time I was in high school, and we did have characters that seemed to be unruly. But when you talk to them in a certain manner, they are very, very understanding. That's why instead of us maybe letting the minister talk to them direct, that's why we need those camp leaders, right? So the camp leaders know how best they can communicate to their fellow people. Unlike them just hearing or listening on radio to say, no, they're not allowed to do illegal mining. And then they'll be like, why? Why shouldn't we do it? We've been doing this for a long time. And this is what people are saying. Yep. We've been doing this for a long time. Why are they stopping now? So they need to understand in our language, in our Kopala language, our slangs, and explain to them what's going on. Because when they feel left out, they'll feel maybe something is being stolen from them. In the actual sense, maybe that's not the case. Because from what I saw and heard and read, that land is actually a private land. It doesn't belong to government. So some people might not understand that, and some people might say it's been sold, but when was it sold? Inform the people, when was it sold? And what can we do about it? Are the people owning the land willing to employ us? Such things. Yeah.
If in conclusion, if the residents of Chingola, the marketeers in Chingola, the Jerabos, the illegal miners are watching you tonight, what would be your word to them? And obviously in a language that probably they understand.
Okay, sure. So am I allowed to use my...
Yes, please, please.
Amazing. Please. So mwena Chingola konsoko mde onfuida, ishna nandine Ruth Ngoma, elonde folk miebati, ifo mde onfwa ubukali, na inewe no ubukali ndebu mfwa. But ufia kuya mumsewo, tuwa mkulwa, tuwa mbokutukana, tapado kofiala tuwala. So fo tuingachita, tuise pamo ngaba youth, tuikatane, tuite na baba tungulula, tuikade pamu bonse, tufoya solution, because i solution ile fuma kudi bonse taide fuma fe government solution ifile fuma konse kubantu abale pitamo mu file chitika na abantu abenga twafidisha.
That's a voice of youth leader and policy engagement advocate Ruth Ngoma, making a plea to the residents of Chingola to be peaceful, and also she's calling on all the young people to jump on the project that she has initiated. She will soon be coming to Chingola to speak to the young people. We'll take a break. When we're back, we're going to be engaging Amos Chanda. He's UPND Media official. We're going to continue the conversation of Chiwempala, market and what transpired when the president was visiting the area.
today?
Start big with Victory Cornflakes.
Victory Cornflakes.
The end of your journey will be big. Stay on your feet, chase to achieve. Give it your all and just believe that it's gonna be big when you start big. Victory Cornflakes. Start big today. Victory Cornflakes. Remember to always keep it. Do it. In whatever you do it. Keep it. In whatever you do.
Today, the best maize grain Zambia has to offer are perfectly toasted into golden flakes that pack a big crunch. Today, start big with Big Tree Cornflakes.
Meet Lucy, a dedicated professional. Her days are filled with meetings and deadlines, but there is one thing on her mind: getting motor insurance for her brand new car.
But I need to get my insurance done though.
As Lucy begins her car journey, excitement fills the air. But she knows there is something crucial missing: safety and protection. The fear of being pulled over by traffic police looms over Lucy. She dreads the complicated and time-consuming process of getting insurance. Will she find a solution? Enters MGen on my WhatsApp. Just a chat away, this service transforms the way you buy motor insurance. It's not just efficient, it's also extremely convenient. With MGen on my WhatsApp, Lucy can now focus on what truly matters: her journey, her ambition. Insurance simplified. Text HI to MGen on my WhatsApp to easily buy, renew, or validate your insurance. When it's worth it, it's worth talking about.
As easy as 1, 2, 3, and all my clothes are squeaky clean.
Quick to remove the dirt and stains, and a fresh fragrance remains.
Never seen nothing like it, that's exactly why I like it.
So whether color white or black, it brings a new right back.
The ZNBS Learn, Win, Shine Deposit Campaign. Your chance to save, win, and shine brighter than ever. Universities, colleges, and schools that open a ZNBS institutional account and maintain an average balance of 200,000 kwacha over the campaign period will be entered into the grand draw to win a brand new 16-seater bus. That's not all. Second place takes home a solar power package worth 200,000 kwacha, while third place walks away with another worth 100,000 kwacha. And parents, this one's for you too. Open a Smart Kids savings account. Keep a balance of 2,500 kwacha, and you could win a solar power package worth 150,000 kwacha, or one of our monthly tuition prizes worth 10,000 kwacha. The ZNBS Learn, Win, Shine Deposit Campaign runs from 4th November 2025 to 4th May 2026. Visit any ZNBS branch or go to znbs.co.zm today. ZNBS, it's possible to build, buy, or renovate your dream home.
Stay entertained anytime, anywhere with DStv Stream. First, download the DStv Stream app from your app store. Sign up and create your multi-choice ID with your email, phone number, and password. Link your DStv account to your customer number. Choose SMS or email verification. Confirm with the OTP sent to you. Download the DStv Stream app now and never miss a moment.
Everyone wonders why I'm always jovial and happy. Every day, every time. At work, even under pressure. At play, always under control. Even with with Big, I always shine. And today, I get to share my secret companion, Best Kombucha. Gives me the energy but also boosting my immune system as I go by my day-to-day activities. Now you know.
How much for a plate?
Everything is better with bento. Bento noodles, full of unique flavor.
Thirteen individuals have been arrested in connection with the riot and arson incident that occurred in Chingola district on November 8, 2025. Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Jack Mwimbu, stated that the suspects will be charged under the relevant laws for their actions. The incident took place while President Hakainde Hichilema was addressing residents at Chiwempala market, which had recently been gutted by fire. Critics, however, have interpreted the stoning of the head of state as a sign of growing political frustration and rejection on the Copper Belt ahead of the 2026 general elections. But how does the ruling party, the UPND, interpret these events? This evening, we're privileged to be joined in by Mr. Amos Chanda, former press aide to President Edgar Lungu and also deputy press aide to President Sata, and now he is UPND Media official. Mr. Chanda, good evening. Thank you so much for making the time to be a part of the program this evening. The stoning of the president in Chingola has widely been condemned, both by key stakeholders, even the oppositions themselves. But also the opposition are stating that this symbolizes political rejection. What's your take on this?
Yeah, the first thing is to look at the presidency as a national institution, and therefore the condemnation must not be conditioned. It must be absolute without conditioning it on anything. Having done that condemnation from a cross-section of society, the opposition political parties have done very well. I think almost all of them have condemned. Before I go to the interpretation of what that incident means, the voice of the church is shockingly absent. The voice of civil society is shockingly absent. You know, governance is a sum total of the actions of the state and non-state actors. So in this case, whatever the legitimacy or illegitimacy of the actions of the people responding to the president, I think that we must understand that that is a national symbol. We remove the individual occupying that office and look at it as a presidency. To have a go at the presidency in the manner that was done is regrettable. And it delegitimizes the presidency and the consequences very, very severe. And it is up to the judgment call or the person holding that office that an incident such as that one can spiral out of proportion, and therefore commendation.
Has this ever happened? You served two presidents. Has this ever happened?
Yes, I was press secretary to President Lungu. It happened in Mwansa. For the protection of the office of president, we subdued the images of some stones thrown at the motorcade. It happened, and that was regrettable. I think that oranges were thrown at President Kaunda in the football stadium. Yeah, I think that that's the closest I can think of. It shouldn't happen because depending on the judgment.
What was the nature of the one under President Lungu? What was the nature of the event? And
we were landing at an helipad in Mwansa, and rural youths began to throw stones at the chopper that was landing. Very quickly, because we were airborne, we could see pockets of people doing that. Two things were to happen. The president must see the land, and then they take care of that situation, or he must abort the landing. And again, what are the consequences of the security plan? The president doesn't move anyhow, doesn't land or not land anyhow, doesn't leave a stage. It's not a simple decision to make by those who protect the president. So the president lands. Security is restrained in the manner the president now restrained is by his action. The security services took a cue from President HH not to take drastic action. In the same token, in an incident at an helipad in Mwansa, the president communicated directly to his commanders not to do anything, because we judged that maybe give or take 30, 40 youths were there. Maybe about 80 policemen were there. So we judged that should the situation escalate, I think that the security services were going to take care of that. Now, taking care of that is that if the commander of the security services, the police and other invisibles who surround the president, is that the president's security is in danger, they would open fire. Then the security escalates. The state of affairs go beyond what you might think as stone throwing. So it's a judgment call. It's a split-second decision whether the safety of the president has been endangered. Was it endangered? Yes. Was there an intelligence failure? I don't think so. Was there a police failure?
Before we come to the intelligence failure or the police failure, in that moment, President Hakainde Hichilema had the powers to instruct the police to open fire.
Yeah. Yes, he doesn't have to, actually. There are certain individuals who watch and they will grade the threat level to the president, and they don't have to wait for his command. But because the threat was on him directly, his public comments there were very instructive. He turns around and says, so the security services take a cue. This is not very serious as to, or even if it's very serious, the commander-in-chief is engaging straight on the podium. He chooses a route of engagement. If his response was out of anger, then the security services would have responded with anger.
With anger as well.
Yes. So that those few comments there were very instructive. And he turns to the larger crowd, meaning he was prepared to engage even a North-Star crowd.
Yeah. Some have said, in fact, some of the UPND officials have made it very clear that this was a breach in the intelligence. Chiwempala market is a hotspot for crime.
Yes.
And the president, others argue that was ill advised. He mustn't have gone to Chiwempala market in the first place. In fact, even Cheswa, Masaka, president specialist, communication specialist, indicated, on his Facebook page, you wrote that the visit to Chiwempala wasn't initially part of the program, for the president, but the president insisted because the market got, gutted. Do you think the intelligence, didn't do a good job in advising the president that there are possibilities of things escalating, to the levels they did escalate, to? Number one, because they clearly understand the cry for the people of Chingola and those that live around Chiwempala, around Senseli issues, right? This has been, in fact, every time, the last time that the Minister of Trade, Commerce and Industry, who is member of Parliament for Chingola, they had threatened that if he doesn't go ahead and open Sanseli mine, then they are going to protest. So don't you think the intelligence didn't, give enough information on the issues around the ground, around Chiwempala and Chingola?
There are three things or four that could have happened. Was there an intelligence failure? I'm extrapolating. I don't think so. Was there a police failure? Yes. The period, the length of time took for them to respond, first of all, to that incident is all clear to see. When you look at the video and you see people at rooftops behind the president, that's not an intelligence failure, that's a police failure. Would the intelligence have failed? I mean, they don't speak. These are invisible people. They are like judges. They take the blame. And poor them, they have no public platform to say, we said this, we didn't. They are not allowed to say. But given my experience in that office, would they have not foreseen that? I doubt that they did not see it. What failed then? Maybe the political system failed. The police, I'm more than certain, because I could see it. That was a police failure. The political system failed because apart from the state intelligence, which is not conducted and executed in the full glare of the media and the public, there's nothing that stops the district chairman from passing on the real political intelligence which they see on the ground. There's nothing that stops the member of parliament. There are two of them there, one in Chanda. Of course, the event was in Chingola. Honorable Chipokamlenga, there's Honorable Chilunziga there. There's a Minister of Mines, around whom most of the issues revolve. The protests were revolving around mining issues. And of course, there's a provincial minister. So without putting these gentlemen on the spot, I think that there was political failure.
And they must take accountability.
Yes, somebody must take responsibility. You can't have a massive failure of security of that magnitude and then accountability. People they do not take responsibility. I should presume that an inquiry has taken place, or an inquiry is underway to correct things. As to the response, clearly, again, these are matters of state that an outsider cannot put a finger on. There have been a lot of pieces of communications that have been put across to try and explain what the situation was. Why is there a correlation between Senseri mine and the burning of Chiwempala market? Do you know that there are 3-4 markets almost the size of Chiwempala market in Chingola, in Muzabwe? I grew up there. The Kasompe, Lamba. Chiwempala is quite central and probably the Soweto of Chingola, if you like. But there is this correlation between, this is not the first burning of that market. When there are issues and tensions at Senseri mine, and then there is a burning of Chiwempala market. So you could see that is a protest outlet, for instance, for those unemployed youth, self-employed youths, jelabos, artisan miners or illegal miners, if you like. This is a formerly flourishing town, one of the safest. You can't, those of us who grew up in Chingola, it's unrecognizable. I haven't been there for a long time. You can't actually associate it with the kind of saga that you are saying. But the downturn in the economic fortunes of that town, and then the mono economy that centers around mining, I think that unless the authorities are able to connect these things, then that's where maybe remotely you can say there was a failure of intelligence, which I doubt very, very much.
So many issues that you've unpacked there, but let's speak about them, step by step. The biggest issue there is the opening of Senseri mine that the illegal miners are calling for and the Jerabos are calling for, which they feel government has not addressed, in a long time. Why is government not addressing the problem when clearly government knows exactly what the problem is?
Government is actually taking a beating. They are being beaten for doing a good thing. I think they were beaten for not doing a good thing. There are two things here. This is the very first time, and I must put it on record, this is the very first time that there has been an acknowledgement of the informal mining sector. During the time of NCCM, Changa Consolidated Copper Mine, ZCCM, all mining tenements and areas were actually fenced. Any intrusion there will be met with force by the mine police and even Zambia police. In some instances, when the threat levels were very high, there was actually a military cantonment, specifically stationed at the entrance of Chingon, and its main task was actually to defend the copper assets, because that is a country's family silver, if you like. This president has taken a bold step to get, if you like, we are being polite when we say these are artisan miners. These are illegal miners who must be formalized through artisan mining license. When you mine, when you allow mining to go on unregulated, that is veritable chaos that can explode into uncontrollable lawlessness. Because if this 100 meters of land is claimed by one gang here and another one, there will be killings there for that. So you've got to go. So the former mine dumps have been allowed to community, if you like, community groups, cooperatives. So the formalization of this mining has not gone very well at the pace that these people want. But to allow them in the manner that they are demanding is actually legalizing lawlessness, if you like. So the protest that they have is that if there is a mine dump which belongs to a private company and they genuinely, in inverted commas, believe that it belongs to them, their demand is that they must be allowed access there. The next thing is that you must prepare that they must demand access to Mimbula minerals. They must demand access to forget the issues you have about Vedanta. They must have access to the slag dumps or a private property.
So how is government with caution managing this situation? Because this is a tricky situation that government finds itself in. It
has to be managed, and no one must urge the president in the manner some people are urging him. I mean, his reaction was commendable. He de-escalated the situation. He's a parent. You can't urge him not to proceed and distribute that 10 million to Chiwempala market. He must proceed. You can't urge him to retreat and not give the artisan mining licenses, not just in Chingola, but in Impika, in Mufumbu and elsewhere. He must proceed. But maybe he must put pressure on those he has tasked to issue these licenses to move at the pace faster than they are moving, so that you quench
my main concern was him not really fully addressing this issue. In fact, not at all addressing the issue of Sensele, because when the district chairman came to speak about, when he went on stage and he began to speak about the president, a way forward on how we're going to move with Sensele, there was a huge, applause, that was given. And the expectation was that the president or the minister was going to address. The next speaker that came to speak was Minister Elisha Matambo, who was stating that this government is giving, President Hakanistem has given 10 million to the marketeers that lost property during the gutting of Chiwempala market, and nobody paid attention to the real issue that President Hakanistem had gone there for, because the expectation by majority of those young people that came there was for them to hear the way forward from their father, from the head of state, on what the way forward is with, Sensele. And that's what I'm saying, but that having known the mood of the people, don't you think it was going to be wise enough, for the head of state to have addressed, the young miners about what he's doing with Sensele?
That's why, in presidential communication, there's what we call message discipline. If you look at the chronology of events you have put, and I think listening to Simon Moyo television, the gentleman was very close there. He was narrating what he thinks was the cause of that. I wasn't there, he was on the ground. I agree with what you're saying. When I excuse, I remove intelligence failure and say that was political failure, this is exactly why would the district chairman possess vital information, put it on the ground there, and it's going right, and then the president begins on another point. But again, did the president finish the speech? He didn't. Maybe he would have addressed sensory mine as well. But maybe it's a manner in which the scheduling of the address was done. Was Minister Matambo and Minister Kabusu, did they properly put the script and did they anticipate? Did they anticipate the mood of the people and say, probably, although the main issue was Chiwempala market, would they have turned the message around and come to Chiwempala market at the end? Those are things which only people in the inner circle know. But I would put it down to messaging. I think, why would the district chairman be praised and the minister almost booed? Actually, not almost booed as well. And then the head of state ending up in that situation. I think that it's this disconnect which I'm calling the lack of message discipline within the structure of events.
One would wonder, Mr. Chanda, do you think that such incidents perhaps reflect a deeper political frustration, or is it just acts of hooliganism from some of members of the UPND who say that they had buses which would have even gone to Chingola? I mean, you heard obvious Molita saying that would have come. The president has got many children and so on. And I mean, the president has for many times said that the youth must not retaliate. There must be peace. I think it's commendable for that. Is there political frustration within the country?
Yes, that's a frustration that should be managed. And I think that people must take a cue from what the head of state is saying. His immediate reaction, which was reflected in his Facebook posting, is a proper reaction to a situation as volatile as that. The expression of frustration to him was not acceptable. You cannot for any moment entertain that violence towards anybody, let alone to the head of state, is an acceptable method of expressing your anger. It's dangerous, it's not civil, it's illiberal, it's not accepted. In a democracy, you can shout as loud as you want in radio station. So the best response is what the president gave in his Facebook posting immediately after that incident. And he says this dialogue. Even at the Kitwe rally where I spoke, he said introspect, meaning that he's calling for an engagement, civil engagement with the youths. To send, that's outside the provisions. Or the president said you address the grievances within the confines of the law. Youths being sent into a volatile situation, under what circumstances would they operate as police? A gun?
What they're saying, what the UPND is saying is that they protected President Hakainde Hichilema while in opposition, and things like this never happened to him, and probably the police are let down and they're able to do a much more better job than the police.
Protection of the head of state is a function of the police.
But they're doing a bad job at it. That's what
if you as a civilian think you can protect the president, you end up being charged with treason, because there will be certain failures that will result in unforeseeable circumstances around the president.
Party members are calling for resignation of
presidential
officers.
protection is a specialized function with many years of training.
So you disagree with the party officials of the UPND who are saying that
the protection of the president is a very specialized function which must be left to the police. If there is any failure within the police, a laid down procedure to remove incompetent policemen must be followed. And that cannot come from the party secretariat. That frustration is understandable. When they protected the party youths and other people protected the president, then in the opposition, well, it's understandable. That protection now is guaranteed and prescribed within a certain framework.
Is it right to call for resignation of police officers?
It's a controversial call, but it's an expression of frustration, I think. Policemen must be accountable as well. As I remember, in the first sentence, I said there was a police failure.
My earlier question wasn't answered around political dissatisfaction, because this message sends shocks in the camp of the UPND, because the interpretation to the outside people, it seemed, because even the people that were, on the ground, they're saying that the president was stoned because they don't want him anymore. They want him to go in 2026 without properly understanding, the context and the perspective to these issues. Do you think what happened, on the 8th of November could have serious political implication, on the UPND because of the political tone that, it has sent so far?
That's why the president has said he has listened and is listening and is continuing to engage. Yes, if the political party does not address the grievances, that's dangerous. But even as we speak now, I saw Minister Chimweka, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Chingola, at Chiwempala Market, engaging. I would want to believe that the president has given him instructions as a Member of Parliament to begin the engagement as early as now. I don't think that this is the end of the visit by the president. He will return to Chingola, continue with the conversations. But that to say that you can do that and wish that it can be replicated elsewhere, that's a lawlessness which obviously the security services can take lightly and tolerate.
I don't know whether the party has heard of the complaints that have come in that the provincial minister and the minister of mines are acting pompous on the copper belt and are not addressing the real issues of the people on the copper belt, and that's why that happened. I don't know if these sentiments have reached the
These
party.
accusations have come. The party is addressing them. The Secretary General, obviously, through the political line, is engaging with the ministers. The two ministers are servants of the people. They too, I should think that they have heard what the public is saying about them. And it doesn't have to be true. When you are a minister, you are a member of parliament, your job is to listen to the cries of the people. However fundamentally disagreeable you are with those sentiments, and I should think that they are listening, and obviously they were present. They are the front line of the president politically to get the political messages, dissect them, analyze them, send them back, and get to the root cause, which here has to do with mining, a demand for equitable access to the mining resource in a lawful manner. The way mine dumps are being managed is a matter. If you've seen the military has gotten involved in sensitizing. I think I've seen 4 or 5 statements from the commander of the Zambia Army saying the illegal mining issue is much more than just an economic exchange. It's a threat to national security.
Maybe let me ask you a personal question. How did President Edgar Lungu manage issues of Jerabos and mining, on the copper belt that you feel is a bit different with how things are done in this administration? Because we didn't see much levels of agitation like we are seeing now, on the copper belt when it comes to mining.
Change itself creates expectation. So maybe the 10 years of the PF, this problem was simmering beneath the surface. And when there's political change, and the expectations are that the way the illegal miners were handled, it will get better. If it continues at the same pace, or the pace is slower than they expect, you might think that it was handled better in the past, and it's not. The expectation itself at 2021 is probably disproportionate with the pace at which the change is.
Others have said that the UPND are very poor and bad politicians. They don't know how to play politics.
No, you can't play politics with private property. That is lawlessness. When property is licensed in title, when property is owned by a private company, there are no half measures there. If you want to exercise populist policies, then you find that Nchanga mine is taken over. You find that the metal fabrication unit of a company, you find that ShopRite is taken over. the primary purpose for which the president is elected is to protect
probably
life and property.
for political survival.
You cannot politicize private property, property rights and life. These two, the president, if you have to give him two duties, is to protect life and property. And all these within the confines of the law. So there can be no political capital and appeasement with regards to how mining should be handled. It has to be licensed. Even agriculture, when land is properly titled in this country, every piece of land must be mapped and licensed. Otherwise, people begin to kill each other for cultivating a piece of land here and plant maize. For now, you can go by the roadside and plant maize, but that land is not contested. There will come a time when even land is a finite resource. You got to have organization, land must be titled, so that they know Mwansa begins here and ends there, Mlenga begins there. And if it is not organized in that manner, and mining is a dangerous thing because it produces money very quickly, it will empower gangs who buy guns and they begin to shoot at each other. And I think that they have no half measures.
The last time we had you here, you were explaining the processes that government is doing to issue mining licenses to artisanal. How is that going?
It's going on very well, but I'm the first to admit that I'm not at the pace it should, given that most of the youths that were taken off the streets were given an opportunity. And there's never been an opportunity as big as this where people are taken off the streets, they are organized within cooperatives, and they begin to earn a living. That process is going on, but I think it should move at a pace faster than this so that people know that when they have a license here, they can leverage that license and get in an investor who can pay them money, they invest in other things, or they wait every day or after 1 week and they get a living in an organized manner. So that process is going on. It's an empowerment process.
What are the deficiencies that you're facing so far?
Maybe the cadastre department does not. There's never been an explosion of opportunity in the mining sector as it is now. There's never been a time when the cadastre department has had so many applications for artisan miners. You have 10, 20 applications for large-scale mining. It is easy. They are organized, the peggings, they will have picked the coordinates. But these are cooperatives. First, they have to get this, they have to get this process, then they have to pick. No, maybe you have 1,000 applications. So the capacity within the ministry probably is not matching up. Because this is the very first time that you are seeing the discovery of different minerals. And we are talking about a time when there's an energy transition, not just in Zambia, but globally. Critical minerals, copper is a critical mineral, cobalt, manganese, and all those minerals have been, it's not that they are occurring now, they've been underground, but the rate at which they are being discovered is faster and greater than at any point. And people rightly perceive our minerals as a common heritage, as a family silver, if you like. So they want to have equitable access to that. So you can't slow down that process. And I think that's where the disconnect is.
You've been very clear. The party and President Hakainde Hichilema has been very clear on illegal mining. You want to formalize, in fact, you're not calling them illegal miners. You're calling them, artisanal miners.
Yes.
In the process of you doing this, you've injured so many.
Yeah, they have had to suffer the consequences of waiting. They have to wait. If you just allow it, you're going to have invasion.
And my question didn't finish because the issue of mining is a huge political subject.
Yes.
All right. Aren't you worried, as a party, that if not handled properly, this might cost you in 2026?
The government have identified key areas of empowerment. Youth empowerment is one of them. And when we talk about artisanal miners, it's just one. There are a lot of great things happening. Carpenters are being trained. Craftsmen are being trained. Using CDF money, a lot of craftsmen are graduating from trade schools. But the issue of artisan miners, it's where somebody wakes up and they can see the mineral and they can dig it and it goes to the market immediately. So the rate of empowerment is immediate. So this is a sector which the government can't just walk away. They'll continue to give large-scale mining licenses, but they also continue to give artisan miners. They also continue to create cooperatives. There are no two ways about it. If it turns out that the process is slow, that is not an excuse to have a shortcut and invade private property. I don't think that even at the expense of becoming unpopular, I don't think that there is any sensible government then can say we have to be popular. It's free for all. Still, the government has to step in because there will be killings. There is drug abuse. There is all sorts of things that happen on these illegal sites. The same Senseri mine, government took the beating out of the deaths of 27, 28 people
that died.
Can you imagine on the national scale, you have accidents like that every day across the country. Still, the government has to step in and close those mines, create more discontent. So it's best that the government is arresting this cancer, if you like, and nipping it in the bud.
Do you think that the young miners, these illegal young people, understand, the vision of the president? Because the vision of the president is very clear, and is there all for us to see? But do you think it's been properly communicated to this? Because there's so much dissatisfaction, even when those young people are moved from Kasenseli and the other, gold mining. They expressed dissatisfaction, and they said, "Akachimonam 2026." Yeah. Do you think a proper message is, even the way that some of those miners were removed from that area, some of them died in the process.
In the process,
from Mufumbwe. So, do you think the message has been properly communicated to these people that what government wants is the best, for you?
Let me use the area where I spend most of the time. I work in Shwangando and in Pika. The Royal Highnesses are involved in constantly communicating to these artisan miners, illegal miners. The dangers of polluting the rivers is something that has seized the mind of the chiefs in Muchinga province, and they have taken a front line to try and protect His Royal Highness Chief Chanda, Chief Mukwikire. They recognize that there are some people who have nothing to do with gold mining, and so they want to protect the people who garden down the stream. The issues of disease outbreaks on these mine sites, there's dysentery and other communicable diseases. So the issue of organized settlement of markets, these cooperatives are digging bores within the licensing is not complete there, but you can see some order. Maybe public awareness, I should agree with you, is maybe the model around some areas in Shwangando and Pika, which are working, must be extrapolated countrywide and applied, because despite the licensing not being complete, there's quite some semblance of order that is taking place within these areas. I mean, police are running battles with some illegals uphill there in the area called Bentushe. There are some tensions still, but it's better organized. We haven't seen the scale of violence and illegality that you see probably in Mufumbwe, previously in Munyilunga, and what you are seeing in Chingola and some other areas. Comparatively, I think that the amount of discovery in the area of Shwangando, Mpika, is almost on the scale of the discovery in the northwest. But you see some order, because the public awareness programs involving the chiefs and other stakeholders, the police are deeply involved in controlling disorder in Mpika and elsewhere. Maybe this is a political messaging and awareness that is required at a faster rate. But I think that it's a problem of success, if you like. Government wanting to allow access to the minerals, then that same access you are giving creates these problems. It is how fast government reacts to these problems that have been created.
And talking about how quick government reacts, I know that we're concluding now. I mean, there's a lot of questions around communication and messaging of the UPND. The president says, Mumabasyu, don't just be ndui, mukazikamba, the things that the UPND is doing. Has there been good communication from government? I hear some people say that the president needs a spokesperson. You know how important that office is. Do you think that that's what the president or the UPND needs at the moment?
I wish I could delve in that. I'm conflicted. I wish I could go into that.
You were a former press aide of President Lungu.
That's the same point of critical. That's the same point of conflict I'm talking about. It's very important, but I think I'm conflicted to directly comment.
Have members of the UPND received you well?
Yes.
Within the party?
Yes, they did.
So, and my last question is, I mean, years back you told us that you resigned from your office because you were going to contest for, or you would wish to contest for politics.
Yes.
Do you still hold the same view years later?
My intention was actually to run for office either in Chingola itself or in Chinsari. And I began the process in Chinsari, and I began to set up the campaign messaging and structures. I was, without going into details, I was stopped by the PF. I basically have caught time on politics. I think I'm involved in politics on the professional side.
So you wouldn't contest in Chinsari because the PF stopped you?
No longer belong there. I just think that I have a new line of political engagement, which is what I'm doing.
I think the earlier question Cheswa asked about the UPND not speaking the good things that the party has done or the government has done. There was a complaint that came through, from the president. Why do you feel the UPND can't speak of the good, if there's any, of the good that this government has done?
Yeah, obviously, if the president publicly urged members of the public, members of the UPND to communicate the success stories, it's a weakness he has noticed. Obviously, the Secretary General has noted that. Obviously, that's why I'm here. We are talking. I think Chairman was on TV.
My question is, why do you think there is not that confidence from the UPND themselves, to be able to speak loud on the buses? Because this is a conversation here on the buses. Well, UPND wafeluka in 2026, and you've heard this, that Kuya Bebe 2026, for the UPND, and the UPND would not defend, these conversations, on buses. Could it be that they believe the message that UPND Kuya Bebe in 2026?
No, I don't think that one incident such as we saw in Chingora alone should be a rallying point that should determine what comes about. Suppose you go to the farming blocks and you hear what farmers are saying there. Suppose you go in banks and in some areas and you hear a different message. Of course, this is a problem that particularly in the office that I'm most familiar with, in the office of the Secretary General, this is a problem that has been identified, and this is a problem where resources will be put. This is a problem that is within the entire government structure. If the president speaks about it as he did, no one can argue that the communication is going right. He says much more must be done. So,
I mean, in conclusion, you seemingly failed to bring President Lungu to public debates, such as presidential debates. Is this an area, as a media officer within the UPND, is this an area you're looking at strengthening and working at in next year's election?
Yeah, the president is not, himself has no problems engaging with the public.
What was the problem with you bringing President Lungu to public debates at critical times?
His style was to deploy other people to speak. That was his style he preferred.
Do you think that this should be something different next year?
Yes, I think that the president has more advantages engaging with the public directly than speaking through third parties. I think that alone he can't do that. He must be deployed. He must be supported by the Minister of Information and other party functionaries. But the central theme should be message discipline. The message should be unified and spoken regularly.
Former press aide to President Edgar Lungu and also deputy press aide to President Sata, now UPND official, Mr. Amos Chanda. Always a pleasure having you on our program.
Thank you very much. I'm most grateful.
We're discussing the incident that happened in Chingola, where the UPND has condemned that particular incident. And obviously the police also did give, the Minister of Internal Security did give an update that 13 so far have been arrested over the Chingola riot. Thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight. On behalf of Chimweka, Chileshe, and our first guest, Ruth Ngoma, thank you so much for watching. My name is Mwansa.
And I'm Cheswa, Kapasa. Good night. See you on Wednesday.